Well, so they ended up firing Greg Berhalter after all. Andres from AA Sports, welcome to the channel. Welcome to this sports episode. As some of you have may have already heard already, while I was just returning from my trip to Mexico, the U.S. Soccer Federation announced that they fired Greg Berhalter after an ugly and underwhelming performance that saw the U.S. men's national team at the CONCACAF Nations League finals just barely win thanks to an own goal by Jamaica. The abysmal performance against Colombia in the Copa America preparation games, and a bad performance showing a lack of discipline and offense in the Copa America, where they were knocked out in the group stage. It was announced that Greg Berhalter will no longer be the head coach of the men's national team going forward. As of the filming time of this video, the head coach position for the team is currently vacant. In terms of potential candidates, there isn't a whole lot of information regarding that. There are some names floating around. I'm not going to mention them in this video just because, again, we don't know how true those rumors or considerations are right now. It is very possible that for the September friendlies versus Canada and New Zealand, that they have an interim coach while they look for a head coach for 2026 and the rest of this cycle. So maybe we see BJ Callahan come back to be the interim coach, since he was successful in winning the Nations League with this team back in 2023. But as of right now, the head coach position is up for grabs, and it will be very interesting to see who they pick and when they make that decision. But one thing is for sure, the word is out. They've had enough. From the standpoint of U.S. soccer, I mean, how much more were they going to take? How much more was U.S. soccer going to be willing to take? For the men's national team, this is arguably the best generation of players they have had in their history. And I had said many times that their biggest weakness and the one thing that was holding them back is their head coach. I said the biggest weakness was Greg Berhalter. And this entire year, that has been very clear. Under Greg Berhalter's watch, the U.S. with golden generation caliber talent and players has not been a golden generation. They've been the opposite. Under Berhalter's play style, the U.S. offense, which has Ricardo Pepi and Christian Pulisic, Balogun, Tim Weah, has completely underperformed. Anytime the U.S. has ball possession, offensively the ball goes from the center back, a long cross to the wingers, then a long cross into the center of the box, say a prayer, and if you don't score on that attempt, you just keep repeating it until you somehow make magic out of it. It is a one-dimensional offense that, with the talent they have up front, is shockingly abysmal. And very rarely does it utilize the midfield. We saw this in the Nations League in March, where the only reason they were in the final and why the trophy didn't go to their CONCACAF rival in Mexico, who are better than Jamaica, is because they were saved by an own goal. An own goal was the only reason they even won the CONCACAF Nations League final this year. That's not good. Then you had not only an underperforming offense, but an unprepared defense. And, look, when it was announced that Serginho Dest was unable to compete due to injury, he's a good defender, and that's a tough loss coming into a big tournament. I get it. But there were still 7 other European stars on the defensive roster for Copa America without Serginho Dest. With that kind of talent, you're telling me you can't overcome that player injury and prepare your defense for these top games with European talent on the bench? That preparation match against Colombia was, and I said it in my community post, was one of the worst defensive performances I have seen from the U.S. It was as if they had 4 Harry Maguires in the back with Matt Turner as goalkeeper. There was poor passing, moments where they literally gave the ball to the Colombian opponent right in front of them, and they went on to score. And they could not defend a thing, looking completely incompetent and unprepared. That is Berhalter's responsibility. He is at fault for not having his defensive players prepared for that match and the strong offense they would face. This showed a poor preparation and a struggle to adapt and adjust without certain players, despite the depth that this team has. Then, of course, there was the Copa America, the key moment in the second game versus Panama, where Tim Weah was sent off after throwing what looked to be a possible elbow to the face of one of the Panamanian defenders. Tim Weah gets a red card because of it, and it leaves the U.S. down to 10 players, resulting in Panama having an advantage that won them the game in a final score of 2-1. Many American fans will look at that moment and say that that was the beginning of the end. And Tim Weah is at fault for the U.S.'s group stage exit. And I do believe that Tim Weah is absolutely deserving of all the brutal criticism he received for that, because it did screw his team. With 11 players, 100% the U.S. would have probably won that game. They're a better team. They're a more talented team than this Panama side right now. But later in the game, you saw Pulisic get tripped on a dirty play, rightfully so a red card to the Panamanian player for that. And Pulisic immediately gets up and responds by shoving Carrasquilla to the ground as his teammates swarm the Panamanian to defend Pulisic, their teammate. It was a clear red card foul. Carrasquilla was going to be sent off no matter what. So Pulisic getting up and shoving him immediately was completely unnecessary. And he's lucky he didn't get a card or potentially sent off for that as well. I'll say the same with his teammates for swarming Carrasquilla as well. And again, while I think Weah's criticism is absolutely justified because it cost the team, these actions do show a clear lack of discipline within the team. And that's on Berhalter, because you would think that after Serginho Dest's red card in the Nations League quarterfinals that saw him blow a fuse on the ref, that Berhalter would have humiliated and grilled Dest in the locker room in front of the team and made an example out of him to never do that again. Based on how Tim Weah acted and elbowed a guy in the face and cost his team a win and possibly a quarterfinal spot, it's clear that Berhalter didn't make an example out of Dest, nor have that conversation with the team. That is a sign of a locker room culture within the team that lacks discipline and any sort of cool-minded attitude. And for Berhalter to not address that is nothing positive, because it hurt them in the Copa America and is arguably why they were out in the group stage. With, a clear lack of discipline in the locker room, a underperforming offense that should be 10 times better than what it looked like in the Copa America and in the preparations games, and, a unprepared defense that did not adjust at all after Serginho Dest's injury. It was only a matter of time, and, those are fireable offenses. And it shows that, in my opinion, Greg Berhalter really should have never been reinstated after the 2022 World Cup when they fired him the first time. So, yeah, it was coming. I had been saying it that the best decision was to fire Greg Berhalter. I wanted him fired for a while. And I think if you're one of those USA fans as well, you were probably thinking the same thing as well, that you're glad to see him fired and, in a way, good riddance. So, yeah, nothing really else to say about that. It's really just sums up a disappointing summer for the men's national team. And yeah, Greg Berhalter is out, and now it'll be in with a new coach. It'll be interesting to see who they pick. Again, as of right now, that seat is vacant, and it's possible that for the September friendlies, they do potentially have an interim coach. But it will be interesting to see who the U.S. men's national team pick to lead them for the rest of this cycle and in 2026 when they co-host the World Cup. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Or were you glad that Greg Berhalter was fired? Was it a good decision by U.S. Soccer, or should they have maybe waited for the end of the cycle? Was it maybe too late? Or do you think that Greg Berhalter was still good enough and that the results just didn't do him justice? Let me know in the comments below what you think. And as well, let me know who you think should be the next coach for the U.S. men's national team. Who do you think should be leading this golden generation caliber roster for the U.S. in 2026? Who do you think should be the coach going forward? Let me know in the comments below. Of course, like and subscribe as always to help this passion project grow. And that is all for me in this one. Of course, not a very positive video given that it talks about the firing of Greg Berhalter. While it was coming, it isn't great. And of course, consider this a preview to my Copa America video where I will grade every team's performance. Obviously, unfortunately, this won't be a very good grade for the US, but again, it's just how it goes. And as someone who is as a sports channel, you got to be honest, you got to call out mistakes. And well, Greg Berhalter had one mistake too many. That is all for me in this one. Leave a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next one.